Hi, this is an IKC video lesson with Suzanne about talking about the future in English. Listen to the dialogue. How can you tell they are talking about the future? Hi, Joe. Good to see you.
Hi, nice to see you too. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Just keeping up with the news. What are you going to do after everything reopens?
Hopefully, I'll be returning to work. How about you?
I think my classes will start again, but I don't know. What about your kids?
Their school is reopening next month. I just want everything to go back to normal.
Me too. I've been reading the news, and I think things are going to be okay. In English, we don't have a future tense. We change certain verbs to show we're talking about the future and not the present or past. In the previous dialogue, we saw and heard some examples of different ways we talk about the future. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to talk about the future in 3 ways, using going to, for example, things are going to be okay. Will, as in, I think my classes will start again. And present continuous, schools are reopening next month. These are not the only ways you can talk about the future, but they are the most common, so that's why we'll focus on them today. Let's start with going to. To form going to, we use be plus going to plus bare infinitive. Bare infinitive just means the verb without to. So for example, be, go, live, and not to be, to go, to live. So here, if you look at this chart, we have some different forms of talking about the future using going to. We have an affirmative sentence, things are going to be okay. And if you notice when I say that sentence naturally, I don't say things are going to be okay. I kind of put it together as going to or gonna. Things are gonna be okay. You'll hear gonna a lot in English. It's not the most formal way to say things. It's very informal, but it's the way that we would talk with friends or people that we know. We wouldn't enunciate going to. Here's a question. What are you going to do after Denmark reopens? And here's a negative. My classes are not going to start again. When to use going to when talking about the future. The first situation where we use going to is for planned future events. For example, what are you going to do after Denmark reopens? This means, what is your plan? Another way we use going to is to make predictions based on past events. For example, I think things are going to be okay. This is a prediction based on information. It's not a guess, even though the speaker is saying, I think. Another way we talk about the future is by using will, and we use will plus the bare infinitive. Again, that's the infinitive without to in front of it. So here are 2 examples. I'll be returning to work. She won't arrive until tomorrow. And I just wanted to make a note that I didn't say I will be returning to work because, again, this is a very formal way for speaking and writing. In normal conversations, I would say I'll be returning to work. And if you see the chart, look at the chart below. These are other forms where we just have the apostrophe ll, and we add this to pronouns and question words when using will. So I'll just say them, and then you can say them to yourself after me just to get used to the pronunciation. I'll, he'll, she'll, it'll, they'll, will, you'll, and then the question words. When'll, what'll, who'll, howl, when'll, where'll. When do we use will or won't to talk about the future? We use will or won't for unplanned future events, like making decisions or offers. And if you remember, we use going to for planned events. So remember that we use going to for planned events and will for unplanned events. And here's an example. I'll carry that for you. And this is an example of using will to make an offer for the future. We also use will to make predictions that aren't based on present or past events. For example, I'm sure we'll have a nice time. So this is more like a guess. They don't know if they'll have a nice time, but they're kind of guessing that they will have a nice time. Again, this is different than going to, where you use it if you have some reason to think that your prediction will come true. And again, this is a guess about how much they'll enjoy their time. We form questions with will by switching will, or won't with the subject. And here are two examples. Will you wait for us? Will she be there? And finally, the third way we talk about the future for the purposes of this lesson is by using present continuous. And we use the verb to be in the present form, am, is, or are, plus the verb plus ing. That sounds like a lot, but it's actually quite simple. For the affirmative, I would say, I'm returning to work next week. For a question, I would say, when are they arriving? And for a negative, the shop isn't closing until 3 p.m. When do we use present continuous to talk about the future? We use present continuous to talk about a planned future, like with going to, when arrangements have been made, but we usually use present continuous when we have a specific point in time that we want to discuss. For example, we're leaving on Monday. They're coming to see us next Christmas. The kids are starting school next month. Everyone is going home early on Friday. So all of these examples are planned events that are going to take place at a specific point in time. And in this case, we would use present continuous. Here are some problems that many learners have when learning to use future tense in English. Because there are so many different forms, even if you understand future tense, you might have trouble choosing the form to use when speaking or writing. For example, you might use going to when you should use will, or you might decide to use one form and never use another form when you're talking about the future. In order to help you get over this problem, it's important to remember the meaning behind each form so that you know you're using the correct one. So to recap, let's look at how you look at the meaning and then choose which form of future tense to use. When you have planned an event, use going to. When you have information and can predict the future, use going to. When deciding or making an offer for the future, use will. When you are making a guess about the future, use will. And when you have made arrangements already, use present continuous. Now let's try some practice. Complete the sentence using future tense. And the answer, look at those clouds. I think it's going to rain. We use going to because it's a prediction based on past events. Dark clouds equals rain. And most people learn that kind of early on. Again, complete the sentence using future tense. And the answer, all the stores are reopening next month. We use present continuous because it is planned and uses a specific point in time, next month. And finally, complete this sentence using future tense. If they call back, I'll answer the phone. We use will because it's an unplanned future event, a decision that someone is making at the time. And this concludes our video lesson on how to talk about the future. Thanks so much for watching.